Every complete pass in Ultimate requires a lot to go right. There has to be clear communication and execution by both the handler and the receiver. Let's talk about the communication side today. As for all videos on this whiteboard, we're going to have the blue chips be the offense players, the red chips be defense. This is the disc right here. The offense is trying to score towards the top of the screen with the end zone up here. And then we have the sidelines on the edge of the board. We can break down any communication into a few parts. There's a sender, a message, which is transferred via a medium, and a receiver. So let's consider a simple cut coming from a popper in the H-stack. So in this common example, let's just say that the cutter makes some kind of a move, gains some leverage on their defender, and then they can start coming out towards the open side. In this common example, the cutter is the sender of the message. And the message that they are sending is they want to receive the disc in a specific area. The medium is the method of communication, and in this situation, that would be body language. By running in a clear and direct line, they are communicating where they will be and therefore where the disc should go. They're going to be cutting across towards this open side. They're not going to be making a double move. They're not going to be going deep. They commit to where they are going. Now, maybe it's really, really tight like this, and they want to do a second move in order to create a little more space from their defender. Then in that situation, they could point to one side or the other to indicate where they're going to make their next move and therefore indicate they want the disc to be thrown further from their body in that direction. Okay, so if things are coming in tight here, they could point their hand back this way, put the disc up here, and then make that move. So all of this must be seen by the handler and they will make the throw. The handler is the receiver of the message. In this simple communication model, if any one of these four nodes fails, the whole communication fails. So how can the sender fail? Well, it could be a failure to identify who the sender is supposed to be. There are 6 different off-ball players, and any one of them could be the next receiver. And so identifying who should be that next person is a crucial part of making any pass happen. Who are we trying to throw the disc to at all? Second, the message. Okay, do you know where you intend to try and catch the disc? Do you want to go deep? Do you want to keep it short? Do you want to go to the left? Do you want to go to the right? If the cutter is unclear on where they want to go, then they don't know what message that they're supposed to send to the handler. Now, sometimes you're in a situation where you need to read your defender and then you want to play off of his body, but we need to do that as quickly as possible. Then we can commit to a message as early as possible. Next, the medium. How do we go about communicating where we want to go? I think a place where this is often going to get broken down is if you have double moves, triple moves, quadruple moves. Okay, if we know that we want to make a catch over here, okay, we could just make one single move, but maybe we're really well defended. And then you try and shake them by doing an extra couple set of moves. The more we make changes to our direction, the more cuts that we make every time that we make a play, the more confusing it's going to be for the handler and the less likely that a good throw will be made. Last, the receiver of the message. In this model, the receiver of the message is the handler with the disc in their hands. And the most common way that the handler is going to have a breakdown is if they're not looking at the sender. So for example, we're getting to a higher stall count. Okay, maybe it's like stall 4, stall 5, and they want to start looking for a reset. But at the moment that they turn their head and look this way, all of a sudden, one player downfield completely gets open. You could make an argument that it's an issue with the sender by making their move too late. You could also say that the breakdowns with the receiver, since they're not looking at the message that is being sent, then they are the ones that are preventing this play from happening. Once we go through this process of the cutter telling the handler where they want to go, okay, the cutter is the sender of the message. The message is I want to receive the disc here. The medium is via their body language, and the receiver, the handler, sees this all happen. Well, now the chain of communication will flip the other way around, where now the handler will be the sender of the next message. Okay, and the message that they send is either going to be, you're going to receive a throw or you're not going to receive a throw. Now, the medium of a throw being made is, the disc being thrown. And the receiver of this message will be the cutter, and they will see the disc coming to them. So the opposite one, saying that you are not going to get the disc. There are a few different things that people like to do. One of them would just be the pump fake, where you just, throw your hand and just say, get out of here, you're not going to be getting the disc. Or you could just be looking at them, focused on them, and then turn your head somewhere else. And that says that I am no longer looking at you, the cutter. I am now looking for the next play somewhere else. In both of these situations, the receiver should be watching the body language of the handler, and they should see whether or not the disc will be thrown to them. In the case that it is, they can make the catch, and that's all good and fine. In the case that it is not, they should do a clear out. As we know, since we play this sport, there's a time component to this whole thing as well. There's messages that are being sent from the cutter to the handler and messages being sent from the handler to the cutter. Now, we only have a few seconds to throw the disc, so we don't have time to send messages back and forth and negotiate some kind of great resolution. Every message must be sent as clear as it possibly can, as quickly as it possibly can, and it must be processed very efficiently. This is where practice comes in, where we just practice doing the same messages over and over and over again, so we get used to sending and receiving these simple kinds of messages. Now, the model that I just presented here is one that I'm going to call a cutter-initiated communication, since the first thing that happened was the cutter making a move and sending that initial message saying that they want to receive the disc in a specific location. So what would be the opposite? Well, it would be a handler-led communication, handler-initiated communication, where in this situation, the handler would basically make the decision of where the play is going to happen before the cutter has to do anything. There are advantages to having cutter-initiated and other advantages to having handler-initiated communication. And in different situations, different styles are more viable, and by having a healthy blend of the two, we can maximize our potential. So here's an example of a common situation that we might want to use a handler-initiated communication. We have the handler here, and we have one of the resets sitting in the beta corner. And their defender is guarding the upline, preventing them from just streaking across the middle and gaining a ton of yards and a fantastic position. So in this situation, if we take this setup and divide it by 180 degrees, we have the side that is being undefended called the shown space. Okay, and then this side here is what is guarded by the defense. Now, if we were to use a cutter-initiated model for doing this reset, then we would want the cutter to make some kind of a move to get in front of the defender. But in a handler-initiated model, the handler could just immediately throw the disc back to the shown space even before the reset has the opportunity to move. The advantage here is that it is so much faster and so much less predictable, the defender is very likely to be caught off guard. Because the reset handler has leverage on their defender, they are able to box them out and make an easy catch. So let's go through this communication model in this type of reset situation. Here, the sender is going to be the handler. And the message that they are sending is that they want a catch to be made back here in the shown space. And the medium, the way that they communicate this message, is going to be first by making eye contact and second by throwing the disc. The receiver is going to be this other handler here, and they must be looking at the primary handler or the active handler at all times such that they are ready to receive the message. Here's an example of handler-initiated communication, this time going towards a cutter. You oftentimes might have a downfield defender poach off of their man. So in this example, we have the setup of a sideline trap where this defender is going to poach in a little bit in order to cut off this throwing lane because they want to force the disc to stay on the sideline and prevent it from getting back towards the middle of the field. However, by doing this, they have given up on their man, and that creates a great opportunity for something deep. So in this situation, if the handler can see everything, they might not want to throw the disc all the way to the end zone. That could be too far for their person to reasonably get to. But if they do a mid-range throw, something that goes past the stack, maybe half the distance to the end zone, then that can be a very effective way to beat the defense here. So once again, the sender would be the handler. Message would be, I want you to go deep. And they would throw the disc deep, putting it with good placement, making sure that it is reasonably accessible by their own person, but not making it too close, so that way one of these other defenders would not be able to poach off. And then the receiver of the message should be paying attention to the handler at all times, and they should be able to make the appropriate adjustment. A big advantage to having handler-initiated communication is that we reasonably expect at all times that all 6 off-ball players are looking at the handler. So no matter what the handler does, everyone on offense can see it and they can react accordingly because they have that vision, they're paying attention. Now, on the other hand, the big disadvantage of having cutter-initiated communication is that you can only look at 1 or 2 people at a time. So if the handler is looking only at these 2 cutters, they're going to miss this guy potentially going deep, or they're going to miss this guy streaking across the front. By the time they see him, the timing is just not going to work and the disc wouldn't get there in time. Or maybe they're going to miss one of these guys making a fantastic reset cut. So even though it is a cutter-initiated communication, in a way it is still kind of handler-initiated because they have to be looking at you before you can do anything. I think it is good and important to embrace both models of communication, both ones where the cutter will initiate to get past their man and then to receive a throw, and the other where the handler has the authority to just make a throw to an open man even before that person makes any moves to physically indicate that they are prepared to receive the disc. We should expect that everyone who is off ball is always paying attention to the disc and that they are always ready to receive a decent throw. Incorporating handler-initiated communication will allow us to play more quickly and hit certain angles and throws that are previously not available.